Remember when you were young and everything in life seemed so much more fun and the possibilities seemed endless? Is that still the same for you, or has life become a serious business? Wherever you are, you can change it. What if more magic, fun, and possibilities were available to you right here, right now? Join Laura and Alun in the playground of possibility as they play, laugh, and explore new ways you can use to make your life more fun and to create more of what you desire.
Hello and welcome to
our comedy show.
Welcome to the Playground of Possibilities with myself, Alan Jones, and my gorgeous host, Laura Borland.
Hello. And
it's really funny, I can hear Laura in stereo today because she's in my house and I can hear her behind me and in my ears. It's very disconcerting to have you everywhere.
I'm everywhere.
You're not telling me you're potent and everywhere, are you?
No, absolutely not. I wouldn't do that.
No, because that would mean that you'd have to be God, and that would be wrong. Because we all know that God has a penis. So, well, it's a... I'm God, I've got a penis, so it must be true. Must be true. So, Laura Borland, let's just tell everybody who we are. So Laura and I, surprisingly or not, are both certified coaches. We are amazingly awesome at empowering people to realize that they are awesome too. So if our introduction today hasn't put you off, by all means go and visit our website and come and do some lovely work with us and tap into your hilarity and awesomeness too. So Laura you can find on lauraborland.com. And me, you can find on Alun, which is ALUN-Jones.com. So that's who we are. Find out more about us there. And today, Laura, what are we talking about today? Or have I given it away already?
Actually, you know, it's funny because it's just as you're saying that, I'm thinking I kind of forgot the title of the show today. I've got the write-up but not the title. I think it's called Are You Plugged Into Your Power and Potency?
It is. It's whatever you choose it to be.
Awesome. And so the write-up said, do you even know the power and potency that you have? Can you think of a time when you plugged into it and then possibilities galore lit up around you? See, the thing is, the possibilities are always there. It's just that we can't always see them. What could your life be like if you used more of your power and potency? And what could you create if you used it 24/7? Or does staying small, invisible, and feeling pathetic seem safer to you?
Are you telling me I'm small, visible, and pathetic?
I don't know, are you?
Fuck off. Here's my answer to that. So,
hello, Keisha.
Yeah, hey, Keisha. Morning glories. So appropriate for the conversation we were having prior to the show.
Yeah, it's all going downhill, and it's like we've only been here for 3 minutes. But anyway, so, power and potency.
Yes.
If someone had said that to you 10 years ago, what would that have made you think?
Power and potency. Yeah, about 10 years ago, I think power and potency for me then would have been power is wrong, power crazed, I'm terrified of having power. Potency for me then is all about strength and how potent something is, like a potent brew. So again, for me, it would be, most of the time you talk about potency, it's like a manipulation, so a potent love charm or a potent poison. So it's interesting how both power and potency can so often be, people only look for what would necessarily be described as negative things.
That's so true, actually, because, you know, when you were talking there, again, like you, I just thought of the whole thing like around the magic and the the potions. And also, was that a nice drink of your tea?
Yes.
Good. And also, if someone had said that to me 10 years ago, actually, I wasn't even aware that I was staying small and invisible, although I wouldn't have said I felt pathetic, but I didn't see myself as having any power. It was definitely something that, you know, it's like it felt like life was happening outside of me, rather than thinking that I had any power and potency. And I wonder if we could even, you know, I'm really curious about kind of like what this will create today, kind of exploring this on the back of the show, the awesome that we had last week with Glynis Hughes, where we talked about kind of like the magic of possibilities.
Yeah, I think so many people, including me, in terms of this whole potency thing, is that we identify so very often with being just, and we use that phrase, I'm just a human, I'm just a human being. Yeah. And all of that stuff is like, well, and we really buy into that. We really make it real. We make it significant. And it's like what we were saying, earlier on this afternoon. When we really focus on something, we make it solid. And we've how often have people made it solid that they are impotent, that they are just a human being that lives in the physical world, that cannot affect anything other than what's in front of them. Because that's it, isn't it? It's like when we talk about, so Glenise last week we were talking about, what magic can we be? If we are infinite beings, or however you want to describe that, and we are bigger than the universe. Again, that the cognitive mind just doesn't really like that whole concept. But how on earth could I, as a human being, affect or contribute to something going on halfway around the world? How could I even be aware of it? But the thing is, the more we shut our awareness of the awareness that we have, the more we try and shut it down, the more we actually cause ourselves to be exactly the thing that we're resisting being, that we're trying to be, that we're trying not to be, that we're going around in circles. You know what I mean? It's like that whole... And it causes us so much crap.
But it really does, because I think it's almost like, so that energy has to really go somewhere. And, we talked about this before. It's like whether, we're creating for or creating against ourselves. And but there's also something, that when, I certainly know that, sometimes working with people who've never really thought of themselves as having any power or being potent, because we tend to really focus on what we think we're not and all the ways that we think we're crap. And so the idea that actually... so I'll talk personally. It's like the idea that, when I got the awareness that I was creating my life, I got really mad at myself. Because I was like, which I get now isn't helpful, but interesting choice. But just that thing where I was like, wow, so it's like to take responsibility for stuff that we've created, depending on what we've created, doesn't always necessarily feel so easy, because it requires a real kind of like kindness and being an allowance of ourselves.
Absolutely right. And I think that one of the keys, I think, to embracing and acknowledging how awesomely potent and powerful we are, is that willingness to be an allowance of everything we have ever chosen through any lifetime.
Which is not really how this reality works.
No, it's always about blame, shame, regret, and guilt. It's always about take responsibility for your actions and pay the price for them. How long? Sorry, go.
No, you go.
Say what have we decided is the punishment that we are living now for choices we've made in our life or other lives? So it's like the whole thing around, if I'm really bad in a previous life, then I have to be punished in this life. And how many, and are you living, so anyone who's listening, are you living this life as punishing you because you bought into the belief in a previous life that you deserved punishment and your next life would have to be crappy until you've paid the price for the things that you did wrong?
Bit mad, really, isn't it?
It totally is, and it freaks the whole conscious mind, the head out, because it just can't get it. It just doesn't understand it. It is for me that whole thing around, if, as you said, if I take responsibility, or even just moving away from those words and just say, even if I acknowledge that everything that's happened in my life has been as a result of something I've chosen, whether that's lack of awareness or whether that is actually choosing to create something from awareness, until we're willing, it's like until we're willing to be an allowance of everything that is, we are unlikely to acknowledge that we've done that, and therefore we're unlikely to acknowledge that we can choose something different.
And actually that thing where it's like, you know, we don't tend to choose things that we kind of like really know are going to like mess us up. It's just like that thing where, you know, something was driving us at the time, and actually for me it was about kind of like starting to have an awareness of like, you know what, it's just like I kind of chose innocently. I was doing the best I could with where I was at the time and what I knew.
See, to a degree, that works for me. There is also a part of me that knows there have been choices I've made in the past that I absolutely know are going to create so much crap. Man, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. I don't care, I'm going to do it. I'm going to ignore all of my awareness.
Because there was some other and I totally get what you're saying, because it's like, because there was also something else at play. It was almost just like you wanted it but you didn't. You wanted it but you didn't. And it's kind of like you knew, but it was almost like the shiny thing. Give me it anyway, without kind of like really stopping to ask a question.
Mhm. And that thing around when you're told you shouldn't or you mustn't, you just go and choose it anyway. And
I know.
How much have people tried, you know, from their perspective, to be nice and kind and telling you, you know, no, don't choose that, because it's like saying to a child, isn't it? Don't touch the cup because it will burn you. And, you know, that's probably one of the worst things you can say to the child, because the child will just touch it anyway, not just from curiosity, but from the space of, well, I'm going to touch it anyway and I don't care. Because, yeah, and I have that. I know I have that bloody-minded, you know, I don't care. I know this is absolutely going to do it, but because you've told me, because you're being a superior arsehole to me, I am going to go and choose it anyway, and if enough that means I have to chop my leg off, I'm going to do it.
But you know what I really love is like I love that thing where it's like sometimes, and I've seen my nephew do this, and it's like, you know, his mum will be like, don't do that, and you'll see his wee finger just go really slowly in front of him, and it's just kind of like, it's like such a game around this like battle of wills, because it's like, I guess it's like he's curious and he's kind of like flexing a little bit of like his power, and I think, you know, I really liked the picture actually we had, just taking it off on a tangent, I really liked the picture we had for the show, which was kind of like this yummy kind of like coffee machine with everything lined up to make yummy coffee, but it wasn't plugged in. And it just really made me laugh, because it was like, you know, so often we talk about, and Glenis was talking about this last week, it's like, and I know that you and I have talked about this, the whole thing about looking outside yourself, rather than kind of like knowing that you can create. And it's just like, it's almost like the coffee machine going, I'm not working, and you're like, yeah, plug yourself in. It's like, and how we often do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Keisha's just put a question in the chat room. It says, is that freedom of choosing rather than trying to make a correct choice? Yeah, and absolutely. And how often do we try and choose the right thing rather than the thing that will create the most? Because the two are very different. Yeah, absolutely. Because if I make the wrong choice, what will happen? You'll regret it. You'll pay for it. You will, you'll pay for it. You'll pay for that choice, and you'll pay for it. For, you know, how many films do you see that have in any way talk about, you know, have any kind of leaning towards other lives or anything, and they go, you're going to pay for that through all eternity.
But you know, it's also, it's with wee people, it's like, you know, I was reading something the other day, and it was saying about wee people have this, like, wee is a Scottish word for small, little, or tiny. And so I was reading about kind of like wee people, they have this, you know, innate curiosity around learning. But actually, it's like when they go into school, it's almost like learning becomes this really serious business where it's forced upon them, where they're given these tests and they have to get it right, and it's like, and they're assessed. And we really teach kind of like, you know, we teach our young kids kind of like the whole thing about you need to get it right, because it's like, you know, I remember like a woman telling me recently that basically, and this is amazing to think this has happened, and we're only talking like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, that her daughter went to school where the head mistress used to make the people who didn't do as well in their prelims, so say they thought they were going to get a B and they got them a D and they got a D, it's like she used to stand them up in assembly and like tell everybody, and you're thinking, you know, how does that really paralyze people, and almost kind of like that thing where they're not even kind of like curious to explore kind of like the power and the potency that they have when actually all their energy is being used to get it right.
Totally right, and it is that exposure, isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't want to be exposed, so maybe we can
shame them into brilliance. I like that.
Absolutely, yeah, Christine. Yeah, shame people into brilliance, and it is an interesting choice. And does it create the most? So why don't we play with that? Because we're about to go to break. So why don't we play with that after the break, and how we make choices about our power and potency.
Great.
And how we can change that. So let's go to break, and we'll see you after these ads.
Were you told as a child to grow up, act your age, and stop being childish? And were you made to feel wrong for choosing to have fun? Is that still the same for you now that you're an adult? Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if you created it with more fun, more ease, and in the knowledge that far more choices and possibilities are always available to you? Tune in to the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alun Jones, who have fun playing with tools, techniques, and ideas that will inspire you to create more fun, more possibilities, and more magic in your life. Do you want to play? Listen for the Playground of Possibilities radio show every Monday at 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 7 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that when run assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bars session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
This is the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alun Jones. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. In the UK, 4433-0001-0625. Or Skype us at A2Zen.fm. You can also email us questions or comments by sending emails to playgroundofpossibilities@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to the Playground of Possibilities, where myself, Laura Borland, and my very lovely playmate, Magic Alun.
Wave my wand.
Wave my wand. And we're talking about, are you plugged into your power and potency? And you know, it was interesting. We were talking about that example before the break, and it made me kind of think. You know, when Christine had said, you know, about shaming someone into their brilliance, and just that how we have such an impact on others, and how, you know, it's like when we use our kind of like, because power means lots of different things, right? But actually, we can use it as an invitation to really kind of create more for people, or really to shut people down.
Absolutely, and there is that that thing around shutting people down because you can see they're tapping into their power and potency, or because their power and potency is showing up in a different way. Therefore, I need to shame you into shutting. You know, I need to shame you into not making me, because I'm not willing to tap into my power and potency, and I can see you are. Therefore, if I shame you, then you will limit yourself to the limits that I'm willing to give to me.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? Because it's like, how often are we made to feel ashamed for choices we've made where we've made a choice, where we have tapped into our potency?
Can I just pause? So here we are, we're talking about, for anyone who's like listening and they're not in the chat room, or anyone who's listening in the future, we're actually having a conversation about cleaning windows with vinegar in the chat room. Vinegar or honey. And I'm just like, I'm loving that.
So The conversation
we're still
in the chat
doing
room.
comedy somewhere else.
Because we are that potent, we are that powerful, we can multitask. So all of that bollocks about men not being able to multitask, it's nonsense. Trust me. Come and get into bed with me. I'll show you how well I multitask.
And happy birthday, Eleanor, to your mum, who's 91 today. How awesome is that?
Happy birthday, Eleanor's mum.
Oh.
So where were we? So yeah, the vinegar window.
Yeah, no, let's not talk about vinegar.
Oh, okay. I was just going to explain to everyone who's listening. But if you want to know what's going on in the chat room, come and join the chat room. Then you'll know what's going on with vinegar and honey. So.
Oh, sorry, I got it wrong. So that'd be about. Sorry, it's your mum, Christine. Sorry.
Okay.
That's a bit my attention to detail there.
Happy birthday to Christine's mum, and hello to Eleanor's mum anyway. So let's say hello to everyone. So.
And that's really interesting, Bree. So Bree's just said in the chat room, that she had, as a kid, when she had teachers that would James students, I would be anxious all the time. I basically wanted to disappear because I was so worried the teacher would call and embarrass me. So actually, there's almost something there about when, we can really judge ourselves because it's like when we want to make ourselves invisible, but actually it's like there's probably been times in our life where that's totally worked for us.
Yes, I think there is, as Bree was saying, how many times have we been around people who you have seen shame somebody else for being different or stepping into their power and potency, so you are then terrified that they'll do it to you, so you use all of your power and potency you have to keep yourself hidden from them. And it's like, who is that really a contribution to? Is it a contribution to you? Is it a contribution to them? Is it a contribution to the world? What if it could be, what invitation can you be to them who have been doing this perpetrating of stuff on others? So it's just like, is now the time for you to stop hiding yourself? It's that tall poppy syndrome again, isn't it? How tall a poppy are you willing to be? How tall...
It's funny that you're saying that as well, though, because there's something about, so when I think about, and I guess the thing is there's no end to the discovery of the power and potency that we be and what we can choose to create with that. And also the thing is, it's like, it's not something that we can know it before it's shown up. And so there's almost like that thing where, sometimes you're like, well, I want to see it before I can choose it. Yes. And so there's almost that thing where it's like a big leap of faith in terms of like knowing that more is possible. And really trusting yourself, actually. For me, there's been a real thing around trust.
Can I just go back to that thing around knowing what's available before you can choose it? Because that's just made me think. Could you imagine going into a restaurant that has no menu, and you just go into the restaurant and they say to you, you just pick what you want and we'll go away and we'll cook it for you. And of course, it's not practical to do that in this reality because it's like, well, how long would it take to cook, and do we have the ingredients and all of that kind of stuff? But where do we use that in terms of using our magic and our power and potency in our life? I have to know what's available for me to draw upon before I will make any choice to I have to know what's in my cupboards before I make my dinner. Well, if you have the choice to go and buy your shopping, right, surely you get to choose what's in your kitchen and therefore what you can create. You are choosing what foods you have in your house in order to be able to cook your dinner. Am I making sense?
Totally, but how often are things in their basket that we're not even aware that they're there, and we think it's all that there is?
Absolutely. And whose basket have we? How many times have you walked off with somebody else's basket in a supermarket?
See, just because we're talking about supermarkets, I have to share a story because I just love this. I went into the supermarket on the way over to Alun's to buy some yummy cakes, and I didn't know where the bakery part was, so the quickest way to find out was to ask someone. So I walked up to this man who worked there, and I looked at his name badge, and I said to him, "Is that really your name?" And he said, "Yeah," and his name was Magic. And I just was like, honestly, had such a lovely exchange with this man whose name is Magic, and I just thought, what a wonderful, wonderful name. So it really, really made me smile.
Absolutely, and
addendum.
yeah, it's just like I wonder if he does know how magic he is, or how much magic, Anyway, so moving on from that. But yeah, I think that is great where that kind of stuff shows up.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's also unashamed to use that name.
Yeah, because there's something courageous around that, actually. And you're thinking, can you imagine when you were a kid being called Magic? I mean...
And I wonder how many children actually didn't have a point of view about it and just thought it was brilliant and magical.
That's true, actually.
Because how potent and powerful are children as creators in terms of getting what they want? If you look at a baby will get its nappy changed, it will get fed, depending on who it's, whether it has parents that neglect it or not. But, it's like a child knows how to create what it chooses to create. And when do we lose that? When do we start stepping out? Because what is a child willing to do in order to get its own way? It will do anything.
Which is funny because my other nephew, who's I think he's like 14 months, he's just discovered that actually hollering is a really brilliant way of kind of like getting what he wants. So honest to God, he's sitting around the table with everybody. It's just so loud because it's just like he's learned how to use his voice. And it's really, really magical because it's like, he'll totally go in from like screaming to grinning and then screaming to grinning all in like 10 seconds. And everybody's running after him like he's like some king.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? Children are prepared to do whatever it takes to get what they want.
Yeah.
And, me and my
how
sister...
often do we make them wrong for that?
It's like my mum used to hide the biscuits in the on the highest shelf possible, so we would do whatever it took to get to the top to get to the biscuits that she tried to keep from us and eat herself and blame us for. So,
of course.
And yeah, absolutely. So, Mum, if you're listening, Dad, we knew you did it. We knew you ate those biscuits and used to blame us. But anyway, so yeah, children will do whatever it takes to kind of to tap into their power and potency, and it's only when you're told as you get older you are I was told you're nothing, you have no power at all, and that I think is a really dreadful abuse to do to anybody, to tell somebody they are nothing. You are nothing, you are no one, you have no say, you have no power whatsoever, which happened to me and my sister.
Wow, because then it's like that becomes your thinking, where you're thinking, I am nothing. And so, it's like,
or you then have to, or we have to prove to ourselves and to the world, actually, I'm not. So what do I have to do? What do I have to do to show the world that I am powerful? Rather than be. How much do we buy into power and potency as a doing rather than a being?
Absolutely, and I'm liking what Carol's saying. It's like, I'd like to do that again. It got shut down when I was scolded often for manipulating situations, and I'm like, I wonder, it's like that thing where it's like, so go on, I guess, Carol, what's it going to take? What if you could just choose it just for the fun of it? Just as a curious experiment? Because that's the thing, how often we choose things and then we think, well, I've chosen that, and it's like, as opposed to that thing where it's like, wow, I chose that, and then I can choose something else, and then I can choose something else, and then I can choose something else. And it's almost like, so even if our power and potency, because how many times do we make ourselves wrong for not choosing our power and potency all of the time? And I think for me, it's like I'm thinking, wow, well, I'm choosing it more, and it's almost like that thing about acknowledging where I am choosing it rather than making myself wrong for what I'm not choosing, if that makes sense.
It does, and I want to add another bit to that, is how often do we make ourselves wrong for not choosing to express our power and potency in the same way?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, when we talk about manipulation, if you're using your power and potency to, to create something, and you need to get someone in some way to do something for you, or you need something from that person, we've done the manipulation thing in the first show we ever did. So when you use your power and potency, sometimes being the bitch from hell will manipulate people into getting what you want, and other times being the seducer. Or being the kind of do you know what I mean? It's like, how have we decided our power and potency needs to show up in order for it to be our power and potency? And
how often do we think it has to be force?
Yes, exactly.
Just I had a conversation. Yeah, well, totally. I had a conversation with a lady the other day, and she was talking about, it's like because she didn't choose this in a particular situation, it's just like, she was making herself like weak and pathetic, and I was thinking, wow, that's really a judgment. And actually, what if there's other ways of using and expressing your power that aren't really about confrontation and being in someone's face and being kind of like aggressive? Because actually that's not always going to create the most.
Absolutely. I don't disagree with you at all.
Should we, do you think, I'm thinking it's like, I think Bree's messing with the clock, because apparently it's like another break about 3 minutes ago.
37 seconds ago.
Let's go to break, and when we come back we can maybe explore this a bit more. And if anyone's got any questions that they want us to play with in the chat room, or if anyone wants to call in and ask us a question, that's great. It's like, I don't know the number offhand, but I'm sure we'll get it in the ads. So we'll see you after the break, guys.
Bye.
Were you told as a child to grow up, act your age, and stop being childish? And were you made to feel wrong for choosing to have fun? Is that still the same for you now that you're an adult? Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if you created it with more fun, more ease, and in the knowledge that far more choices and possibilities are always available to you? Tune in to the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alun Jones, who have fun playing with tools, techniques, and ideas that will inspire you to create more fun, more possibilities, and more magic in your life. Do you want to play? Listen for the Playground of Possibilities radio show every Monday at 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 7 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that, when run, assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bars session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
This is the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alun Jones. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. In the UK, 4433-0001-0625. Or Skype us at A2Zen.fm. You can also email us questions or comments by sending emails to playgroundofpossibilities@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Playing the Possibilities. You're listening to Alun Jones and Laura Borland, and we are playing Power and Potency. And just before the break, Laura was telling you can call in, and I don't know if you heard the last advert, but that's where the numbers were given, but I'll read them to you again. If you're calling us from the US, it's 815-880-8255, and from Canada, it's 613-800. No, it's not. It's 800-8736. And if you're calling from the UK, it's 033 and then 4 zeros and a 1 and then 0625. So if any of that made no sense to you at all...
if anybody manages to call in, I will eat my hat.
Absolutely. You can also Skype us. You can Skype us on A2Zen FM, and that's probably a lot easier. Trust me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so... this power and potency thing. So how do we recognize when we are tapping into it, and how do we recognize when we are not?
Interesting question. For me, the first thing that comes into my head is just around kind of like contraction. When I'm contracted, I know I'm definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
And when I feel kind of like expansive and kind of excited and curious, then I'm stepping in the direction of it.
absolutely, and that for me is very similar. And I would also say for me, when I know when I'm tapping into my power and potency, because things show up for me with more ease. And it's like when I'm not, and when I'm trying to, and I'm making things solid and dense, and like you said, really, really contracted, things just seem to take forever to show up. And
it's funny that you're saying that, because it's like this would have been the kind of conversation that would have really done my head in when I was listening to it, because I'd have been saying, but how, what do I need to do? And it's not a doing, it's a being. And so have you ever had somebody who's given you a hug, and it's like, and they really kind of like, the energy was kind of like, it was just yummy and opposed to somebody who gave you a hug and it was just completely from their head, and it was, and so it's almost just same action, totally different experience.
It's like one of them's like putting your arms around a fridge, fridge freezer, chiller, if that's what they use in America, is it chiller, and the cooler, and it's like putting your arms around something that's inanimate, that's not kind of hugging you back. Freezer. Sometimes it can be like when you're hugging someone, it feels like a freezer. Very true, Bree. And that's not fun when someone just stands there and doesn't receive your hug. So power and potency for me, when I get out of all of the judgments and all of the definitions of what power and potency is, and just it's like, what we were saying earlier on, Laura, about when we focus on things, we make them solid. But when the things we see from our peripheral vision, it's almost a bit like that. It's power and potency for me is kind of intangible, and it's very difficult. It's difficult to put any kind of description around. But it.
But we are it.
That's the
thing. It's like, so it's not something you have to go and learn how to do, because we are it. And it's not something that you have to look for outside of yourself, because you are it. And it can even be as simple as, it's like when we cut ourselves, our bodies heal. That's just like phenomenal, and it's not something we have to do. It's just like, it's not cognitive. It's like, oh, I must heal now. Oh, look, how's that going? It's just like, it's something that we be in. So it's almost like, and I don't know about for you, Alan, but for me, it's just like, with lots of the stuff, it's like, I spent so much time trying to get it right and making it meaningful and significant, and almost at the point I just gave up, and I was just like, whatever. It's like I then started to experience it, which is like,
absolutely. When we take our focus off it and just allow ourselves to have fun, that's when it starts to show up. But it's like when we try interfering at it and we start picking at it, that actually we stop it from happening. So if you have a cut on your arm and you keep going back to check it's healed, check it, is your body healing, is your body healing, is your body healing? All you're doing is prolonging the whole process. And it's like, and you keep prodding at it and prodding at it and prodding at it until eventually your arm falls off and you go,
Well, it's almost like, it's like that thing where it's like, it's like, like the acorn's not like, hey, how am I doing? Am I growing into a good oak tree? It's like, and how am I doing with the other oak trees? And it's almost like that same amazing intelligence that somehow makes a tiny, tiny acorn into a beautiful oak tree. That's what we all have. And like, and when we can begin to truly play with that and get curious about that, it's just like, life really does become magical. And I don't mean magical in big woohoo flashy kind of like, I don't know, it could just be something where it's like, we have an experience that we've never had before. We have a connection with somebody that we've never been able to have before. It's not about stuff necessarily. It's just about kind of like, we came here to have fun. We came here to play. And how do we do that? Through our power and our potency.
Absolutely. It's only when we start to try and understand. It reminds me of something that Glenise said last week. You were talking earlier on, literally about 2 or 3 minutes ago, about looking outside of ourselves for power and potency, and how often do we look outside of ourselves for power and potency because we know we won't find it there? So it's a way of distracting ourselves from being the power and potency that we are.
But we're so taught in this reality that, everything's outside of ourselves and we're somehow lacking or deficient, or, it's like, and the truth is, and so, I talk to people about, everything that you need is inside. It's just like, and it's funny that we did the picture with the coffee pot not being plugged in, because it's almost just like we have all this phenomenal stuff and energy inside us, and we just don't always plug into it.
That's like the sun walking around going, where's that light coming from? I must find out where the light's coming from. And everywhere I go that light is, but I can't find it anywhere. So that's a cute choice. So everywhere you're unwilling to acknowledge that you are the one creating the light and being the inspiration, do you want to let go of that?
Yeah.
Excuse me a second, I'm going to have to cough. Oh, wow. That didn't bring up anything for me.
No, and also that and everywhere that we have to go straight back into our heads when we tap into the power and potency, because if we get a bit freaked out,
I think we just, it's just like that's all let go of all of the definitions we have about what power and potency is, the difference between power or potency, and stop making it meaningful and significant, and going, okay, so what can I create today? What can I choose today that is beyond anything I've ever created, that will be fun, phenomenal, and rewarding for me in the world? So rather than getting caught up in where's the power going to come from in order for me to do this, it's like we don't question the sun coming up every day. It's just very matter of fact. So what if you didn't even start to question where your power and potency comes from, and you just choose?
Absolutely.
Everywhere you're unwilling to acknowledge that you are the power and potency you've been looking for.
And actually, what, I'm just going to say, let's just skip break. It feels easier to say it than to type it. What do you think?
Absolutely. So our wonderful producer Bree, sorry, we were going to message you, but no. Can we skip the break, please, my love?
But there's something in you saying that makes me think, imagine if we could even begin to see a glimpse of the power and potency that we truly be. Imagine it's like what we might begin to choose, and imagine if we just didn't question it. Imagine if we just knew it in every single cell that is, that creates our wonderful, awesome bodies that hold our beautiful beings. Imagine, it's just like, and it's almost, it's there for all of us. Just that, certainly, God, it's like talking to myself. It's like I spent so much time, wondering and thinking that there was something wrong with me, and it's like, and actually, no, it's like it's there for all of us to be able to choose.
And the thing, and that's it. It's like, in my head, the question I'm hearing, well, is it? Well, and the answer is absolutely. So, where have we decided who power and potency shows up for? Some people are lucky, some people are born into the right family. It's like, well, let's just choose it. Yeah. Just choose. In this 10 seconds, what can I choose? What can I choose right now that will just create more space for me? What can I choose right now that will, empower me to acknowledge that I can create anything? When you start to get, I think as you said, curious about what else is possible, rather than keep going back about what has been, because that's the thing, it's like we go back and say, oh, but I didn't choose it then, but I didn't choose it then. Okay, so let's just let go of all of that. Imagine if none of your history, none of your past had ever existed. What can you choose? If you woke up the following morning and you didn't know who you were, would you think that you were powerless?
Of course you wouldn't.
You wouldn't have a point of view.
No, and I like, Eleanor had said, what would it take to choose multiple dreams? I keep hearing, you've made your beds. Now
no, you lie on it. See,
who does that belong to?
Exactly, Eleanor. And do you know, Eleanor, when people say that to me now, it's like, do you know what? Actually, I don't have to lay on that bed. I can go and buy a new bed. I can make my bed. I can choose somebody else's bed to lie on. I can choose to sleep on my sofa. I can choose to sleep on a hammock. I could choose to sleep in the street. I could sleep in a hotel. I could sleep in any fucking bed I want.
Okay, glad you got that off your chest.
and no, that wasn't at you, Eleanor, per se. It's like that's where I'm at when I that's not anger for me. That's
no, I know.
Not. It's just like that's just like. Do you know what? And it's just like I find it really funny going. Do you know? I don't have to sleep on that bed that I've made.
I love what Keisha said. What would it be like to acknowledge I am it and keep choosing it today with total ease? Knowing that actually how it shows up today is not going to necessarily be the same as how it shows up in the next 10 seconds, and that's the thing about, so we don't have to get right, we don't have to nail it. It's just like there's absolutely no destination to get to with this.
Absolutely, because that's it. It's like, oh right, so that's what my power and potency looks like when it shows up.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we use that one. We do. We use that as a benchmark for, it doesn't feel like that, therefore I'm not tapping into my power and potency. It goes back to that, what manipulation are you willing to be? Are you willing to be that, in order to get something done, are you willing to be weak and pathetic in order to get someone to do something for you? Yeah, if necessary. Yeah. And I'm also willing to bully people if that's what's required. It all depends on what's required.
So we've got like a few minutes left, and I was also thinking about maybe you could tell some people about the classes you've got coming up. But before that, I was wondering about, what are some questions that you would give people who were maybe hearing about this for the first time? What would be some questions you would give them to play with?
To play with?
Yeah.
I think, one of the biggest things is, for me, has got to be, what can I choose right now that would give me ease?
Yeah.
What can I choose right now that would be fun for me?
Yeah.
And, one of the access questions is, what else is possible that I haven't considered?
That's a nice one, actually.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where I'd be coming from, is what else is possible that I haven't considered? What's right about me that I have never acknowledged? What's powerful about me that I've never acknowledged? What potency do I be that I've never acknowledged?
And what if these kind of questions are actually starting to use your power?
Yeah, exactly, and that's it. It's like, you're absolutely right, Laura. I love that. What if asking a question can often be one of the most potently powerful things you can do?
Yeah.
Is just be curious. What curiosity can I be to be the power and potency I truly be?
Yeah, because there's something around when we're in conclusion and we're really telling that story, and actually even stopping telling that story and asking a question and being willing to consider that there's another possibility. It's like that is using our power. Yeah.
You've totally nailed it there. It's like when we're in conclusion, we're not choosing our power and potency.
No.
Like,
even when it's a conclusion we're thinking is working like for us, because it's like, and what else?
Exactly. So universe, show me everywhere I'm in conclusion. Universe, show me everywhere I'm potent and I haven't acknowledged it.
Universe, how can we play that's just fun?
Yeah, What would be fun for me to choose? Because that's it. Let's just play. We're in the playground of possibilities. Let's laugh. Let's play. Isn't that where a lot of our power and potency is? Can you create more change with pain and tears or with laughter? I think for me, it's laughter.
And I think that's actually why, in terms of like, I know maybe at times in the show we can seem a little bit irreverent, but actually it's like, something I love about kind of like our show, The Playground of Possibilities, is the fact that it's from a space of curiosity and playfulness and not taking it all so seriously, because because actually the energy of laughter and kind of like playing with each other is just, it's, for me, it's much more expansive than when I get into my serious place.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely, because power and potency, of course, is a very serious business, because if you don't take it seriously, you will hurt someone.
Can I just say as well that now we're all talking in the chat room about Eleanor having someone in her bed?
Well, that's because she's put it in the chat room, so I'm thinking she's probably okay with us saying it. Eleanor is actually in bed listening to our show, so how fantastic is that? And Keisha was saying this show has been a huge snuggly pillow, so I said, well, let's just grab that snuggly pillow and jump into bed with Eleanor and just go and play. What could we create? So, while we're talking about power and potency, I think this kind of links very much into, I'm doing a free Google Hangout with the awesome Glenise Hughes, who was on the show last week, and I'm going to put the link up again on the Life with Play page, the Playground of Possibilities page on Facebook, because we're doing a Google Hangout on impossible to possible. This is like, where have you decided it's impossible to tap into your potency and power when actually it is possible? So if you want to come and play with Glenise and some more tools and all sorts of stuff, then come and play on Wednesday, and it's I think it's 10. Do you know what? I can't remember what time it is. I know it's 4 p.m. in UK time. So I think that's something like 10 a.m. in where Glenise is. But it'll be on our page, so you can find it all there.
Magic.
So yeah, a lot of fun.
And what is, because we're super organised these days, what's our show next week?
Our show next week is Are You Feeling Spacey? So...
Do you remember Space Dust when you were a kid?
I do remember Space Dust, and they banned it for years. But that popping stuff on the old tongue was just a bit... popping candy, I think they call it now.
Oh, it was yummy.
But Space Dust was yeah, so you want to come and play with some Space Dust with me and Laura? That's... Are you willing to be spacey? What can you create from space? What can you, is that where our power and potency lies? From space or from solidity? So, yeah. So it's been an awesome show today, and I just really want to thank everyone in the chat room for everything that they've contributed to questions and the delicious jumping into bed, Eleanor. That was a fun place to be. Ha ha.
That's too funny. And what would it take? Who else would like to come and play in the Playground of Possibilities chat room? It's like, honestly, Keisha and Eleanor, much love, thank you. It's just like, it's so much fun, and Bree, and it's like, and Carol and Christine, it's so much fun when we're playing with people in the chat room. Now that we've kind of got it a bit nailed, it's like, to start with, it was a bit like, but yeah, but now I feel like I can kind of dance between the two, which is pretty cool. I'm not really sure why that's funny. I think you're overreacting a little bit.
No, I'm just like, women are supposed to be able to multitask. Why can't you read the chat room and talk on the radio at the same time?
Because I feel like I'm not giving everything. I'm either not giving you my full attention, or I'm not giving the lovely people in the chat room the full attention.
And what's that? Those are just very quickly, because I know we're about to go. We're about to finish the show, but there's just that thing around where we've decided we need to give our power and potency our full attention and understand it, that actually keeps it from being whatever it chooses to be that will create the most.
It's a muscle.
So, what's a muscle? Christine, are you... No, I'm not even going to go there.
No, go there. Oh, Eleanor, that's a lovely message. Thank you, bad. But okay, I'm really glad that it's like 1:17. So, I'm really grateful, because it's like, I think that, when we've been doing this show, it's like, even to see, for me to have the awareness that even to use a question can be me kind of like stepping more into my power. And I'm really grateful kind of like for what we've been able to like create. And it's like, it's like when we've been talking about it, so awesome.
Absolutely. And thank you, Laura, for being such a wonderful, gorgeous co-host and playmate.
Oh, bless you.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. We've so been filling the air, like just yakking for the past 3 minutes.
And how much do you want to bet we fuck it up and we're going late to music? So we will see you all next week for Are You Feeling Spacey?
Awesome.
Bye, everyone.
Have a great week, guys. Lots of love. Bye.
Thank you for choosing to listen to the Playground of Possibilities radio show with Laura Borland and Alan Jones. We hope you enjoyed playing with us today and that you'll come play with us next Monday at 3 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 7 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm. Until then, what would it take for you to enjoy playing with choices and possibilities to create more fun, more magic, and more of everything you desire? What will you choose today?